All right, you guys, so in this video, I'm gonna show you the process of removing and changing out an old sink and putting in a brand new sink. In addition to that, we're gonna be changing out the faucet as well. All right, so before we end up taking old sink out, meaning lifting it up and out of here, we've gotta disconnect a lot of the plumbing that we've got going on underneath the sink. All right, so part of prepping underneath the sink so that you don't have a bunch of water all over the place is put a bunch of towels down. Not that I think that that's necessarily has to be explained, but always a nice reminder. And then have yourself a bucket so that as you start disconnecting a lot of these drains, any excess water that's sitting in the pipes ends up either going into the bucket or absorbed by the towels. So we're going to disconnect the positive lines or the pressure lines so that we can freely remove the water faucet when we're taking the sink out. Okay, one thing I want to point out to you guys is that you can see, this little attachment. So that is from the sink, kind of helping secure or bolt down the sink to the actual counter. So you've got several of them here. There's 3 here, 1, 2, and 3. And then you've got 2 on the side and then 3 in the back. All right, now I am finished undoing all of the brackets that held the sink down onto the counter. The one thing that I'm actually somewhat pleasantly surprised about is the fact that whoever caulked this down did an absolutely horrible job, and I was literally able to push the sink up from underneath, and you can see that it's then lifted up off the counter. So perhaps there's very little cutting away, and I was going to end up using my utility knife in order to do that very carefully, not to damage the countertop. So if you have a sink that's been mounted properly, they would have caulked it or at least glued it down in addition to mounting it in the way in which we took those brackets off. So if you're going through the process of removing this, you're going to have to take your utility knife and then carefully cut away that caulking or glue in order to lift the sink up. So let's try to go ahead and lift this bad boy out. I expect this to be quite heavy, but if we disconnected everything properly, then it should be okay. Okay, the next thing to do is go ahead and clean off the area where the sink was sitting, because there's going to be a bunch of dirt and grime and just nastiness along with any caulking or glue that was used to help sit this sink down. All of that has to get cleaned off, and then we'll be ready to go ahead and drop the new sink in. All right, so let's see how well this sink fits. So it fits fairly well. Now, the difference between this sink and our old sink is that this doesn't have any brackets in order to mount it underneath the sink. So we're going to heavily rely on the adhesive, the caulking that we're going to use in order to go ahead and get this to set in place and then remain in place. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, instead of putting caulking on the new sink, I'm actually going to caulk right here along where I know the new sink is going to go. And then I'm going to drop in that sink right on top of the adhesive. All right, let's go ahead and drop this thing down in. Hopefully, I'll be able to follow those guidelines that I drew earlier. Oh, that's way off. Okay, so as of right now, we've put in the new sink. Now, all I've done is actually set it down. It has been now glued down and caulked around the edges. I'm waiting for all of that to kind of cure. So I'll give it a few more minutes, and then I'm going to start on doing the plumbing underneath the sink, and then we'll get the new faucet mounted. So now we're at the point where we're going to go ahead and install the new faucet. So one, you're going to have all of this that you're going to have to feed through either, well, yeah, one, which is the main hole. You may have multiple holes in your sink, but in this particular case, we've got one. So on yours, you're going to end up feeding it through the middle if you've got more than one. So now that we've got all the hoses fed through the hole, we've got threads at the very bottom of the faucet. So now we've got to go underneath the sink, and there's going to be a nut, and we're going to screw this, and therefore securing it to the actual sink so it doesn't flop around like you see now. All right, so this may be hard to see, but we are now underneath the sink, and that right there is where I'm going to end up screwing in to mount the faucet to the sink. Okay, one of the next steps is now to reconnect your hot and cold to the appropriate valve. So this would be the hot, and then you end up having the cold right here. So you'll connect these right there. One thing after we've put in the faucet that I'm installing is the garbage disposal. So I bought a new mount for it. So I've slid this in, and then I've screwed it underneath the sink with the actual mount that comes with everything. All right, you guys. So what I had to do was I had to do all of the drain lines in order for this to work, because the garbage disposal ended up having it shifted over. So this is what I had to do, but the new system, or the new sink, is now working, and everything's working as it should, including the garbage disposal. All right, guys, so we've installed a brand new sink. We got rid of the old one. We put in a new faucet, and it's actually relatively easy when you're going through all of the steps. So I wanted to go ahead and make this video to show you guys how easy it is to do these kinds of home improvements. So as a real estate agent here in Southern Nevada, I try to do everything I can to make the process of owning a property, doing maintenance, doing projects like this seemingly reasonable enough for you to have the confidence to do this on your own. So if this has inspired you to do the same thing, hey, make a video, send it to me, or at least let me know in the comments how it ended up going. Let me know whether or not this video helped you in order to do the same thing. But I do thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys are looking for a real estate agent to help you buy or sell a property here in Southern Nevada, please end up giving me a call. Otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video.